Brother.
Oh, yeah.
Brother.
Oh, he's back.
The 20th anniversary of Brother.
Oh, yeah.
Slamiversary coming up.
Yeah. It is Thursday, May 19th, 2022. And you know what that means? It is time for another episode of the Impact Power Hour. I'm Ryan.
I'm Angelo.
Still our Deep Six champion, Angelo. Yes.
Yeah. I guess so. I took it overseas.
Yeah.
To Mexico.
Yeah, you're our first international champion.
Yeah. I'm very excited to be a touring champion.
Yeah. Did you declare the belt at the border?
No. I just wore it and they pat me down.
No, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Angelo's back. Pat is off this week for this episode because he did record AEW podcast this morning, which is out on the podcast feed if you want to listen to it. He's also been keeping up with the Best of the Super Juniors over in New Japan.
Yes, that is a hectic schedule. So
yes, yeah. He's not watching it live, but he watches it when he wakes up. And then every few days he's going to put up a podcast, it seems. He did the first 2 days already. So that's out there if you want to listen to it as well on the podcast feed and on YouTube if you want to check that out. At Deep Six Wrestling on YouTube. Also follow us on Twitter at Deep Six Wrestling. It's wrestling without the G at the end, so that you can follow what is going on in the Deep Six world. Talk to us, comment, reply. All these things. Also rate and review our podcast if you haven't already, just to help us out. It all works out well. It's all free to do. You can tell us you love us. You can tell us you hate us. Doesn't matter. It's all good news for us.
Yeah, true.
So Angelo, you've caught up a bit with Impact now.
Yeah.
You're back.
Was Pat not too excited about the choice of Eric Young?
Yeah, so I think it was more that when we talked about it last, all of us, we all thought that Eddie Edwards was like the most logical choice for it.
Yes,
and
or backup would have been Macklin.
Yeah.
To
which I think Pat was more excited for those, and then Eric Young feels like a step down compared to them. I think it's going to be a good match because Eric Young seems to deliver in his solo matches. And we got some more insight onto this on tonight's show. We've got a month basically to build to this, a month exactly now. Yeah, as it is next
So I was
month.
watching this gauntlet too, little behind because I was away. Yeah. So I knew Pat's reaction already was negative. He didn't give away the result. So I'm watching, and the final two is Saban and Eric Young, and I'm like, oh, is Saban gonna win? They're gonna have like a face versus face with a month and a half long build, just like AEW.
Yeah.
So I thought that's what he meant when he was like a little upset by it. But you know what, Eric Young, he really has been there since basically the beginning. There's actually, we can go into it tonight. There was a promo about it, but in the historical sense, he's a very, very good pick and maybe better than Eddie Edwards and Steve Macklin because he's really been there and done it all with Impact, and he's left and he's come back now. And again, I keep repeating myself, but he's a really good pick, I think, in that sense. For Eddie Edwards, he's going to get his chance. Obviously, this is going to be a long-term build. I know one of the things we talked about was right after we weren't sure after the set of tapings, like who was going to be back.
Yeah.
All of Honor No More is back. So they're still,
they're still
pedal
kicking.
to the metal. Yeah. So they didn't trim any of that. So we were kind of speculating that. So no, Eddie Edwards is the leader of that. He's still going to have momentum going after Slamiversary. So he's going to get his chance at a big pay-per-view, I'd imagine. Steve Macklin, it's interesting because like he got that big win over Jay White, and you want to kind of keep that momentum hot. I'm not sure how they're going to do that going into and going past Slamiversary, but we shall see.
Yeah,
he's obviously not going to be involved in the X division anymore, so he's kind of in that middle ground now.
Yeah, I mean, my thinking is you could throw him back into the X division just for shits and giggles, because I think we've all said it that the X division seems like it's the area that they need a little more bodies in, other than the two tag divisions. But it does seem like they're getting some life back into the men's tag division with the Briscoes now. And if OGK is sticking around, that's another really good body in there. The Knockouts tag division, the less said about it, the better, I think, at this point. It is going to be interesting to see who else they fill this the Ultimate X with. We already know going into tonight's episode, we knew two people in Ace Austin, since he's champ, and Kenny King.
Which I was super excited about, honestly.
Yeah, I'm excited for that as well.
It stinks. I guess Chris Bay won't be involved, which is kind of weird. Maybe they just have him involved still anyway.
Yeah, I was gonna say you could have like a last chance thing where all the losers face each other.
Like, unless the Bullet Club has some big plans, I don't. You can't leave him off the Slamiversary card like that.
That'd be bizarre.
Yeah, so we shall see. But yeah, good for Kenny King. I mean, he's a great talent. Finally, he's gonna be in a pay-per-view match. That's very hype for him.
Yeah, absolutely. Going into tonight's going off of what you were saying about like them trimming up some people, the only person we know that is done from Rebellion basically is Jonah and Jonathan Gresham, I believe, are the two people that are done.
Gresham, with Jonah.
Yeah. Jonah is basically just they don't have anything else for him. He was only on a short deal to begin with. And his goal is to he is signed part of basically with New Japan. It's just trying to have something for him over in Japan, because that's the goal for him, is to get back to Japan. Me and Pat both speculated that we think he'll be in the G1 is when you'll get him like fully in Japan. So maybe he'll pop up other places in the US for now, but does seem like he's just going to be focusing on New Japan stuff for now.
Maybe even just New Japan Strong too, while he's still waiting for something big to do.
Yeah, he does seem to be rebuilding the old the Mighty Don't Kneel stable that was in Japan before. He got Shane Haste, the former Shane Thorne, and Slapjack in WWE as his first show that this was coming back. And then Mikey Nichols, who's basically been inactive for like a year or two, I believe, who's been in New Japan, who was part of the TM61 in NXT and then left. He has joined back, and it seems like they are feuding with United Empire, Will Ospreay's stable. So it does seem like, he's got some pull. He's got his little stable growing. So
I let you names Will Ospreay there, because we can talk about in the news before we get to Iceman Intel. In the news is Will Ospreay for shouting out Impact Wrestling, right?
Yeah, I was pretty hype about that. Ospreay saying that that Impact's basically been hitting it out of the park lately. They're not getting enough credit for all the great stuff that they've been putting on. To which some people were like, yeah, this is great. Good to see shouting this out. And then other people are like, have you been watching the production? I think that's the only issue that Impact has right now is the production of some shows. But other than that, I agree with Ospreay. They've been knocking it out of the park for the last 2 years.
This roster is on fire.
Yes.
A lot of homegrown talent, or they're not just picking the best of WWE. Like, who the heck was Speedball Mike Bailey?
Yeah.
For a mainstream wrestling fan. Same thing with Josh Alexander, really. Like,
for real.
There's a lot of guys that they're just building up and they're becoming phenomenal characters. And a lot of long-term storybook telling. And then you have Johnny Swinger.
Hey man.
But
that's
for real,
storytelling.
like, Impact is, as I said, the wrestlers' company right now. It feels like, because it's not getting a lot of the fan base, but it's going to be looked at maybe years down the road as like, wow, they knew what they were doing in their second iteration, post Hulk Hogan era. Like, they lost their viewership, but they had a good product.
Yeah, and like it's not just focused on one or two storylines. Like, they have tons of revolving storylines throughout. The Josh Alexander one was obviously like the focal point for the last year or so. But you had Deonna Purrazzo's magnificent run. You've had you've had Tasha Steelz coming out of literally nowhere.
She looked like the second best person on her team, and now Kara Hogan's out, and Tasha's the women's champion. So
you've got you've got Steve Macklin, who when he came in, everybody was like, he was just like a tag person. He was like a faceless person. Nobody really cared about him. And he's just exceeded all expectations. Morrissey's comeback story has been fantastic. And they have a good mixture of the veterans and the young up and coming talent, and the people that have been around for a while that are still growing their names. So I think it's the perfect blend of everything. And it doesn't feel like people are fighting for TV time, or like people get forgotten too quickly. Whenever somebody comes in that's new, it seems like they have like that sustained presence, but it doesn't take away from anybody else for the most part.
Yeah, it just feels like the locker room, like from the outside perspective, it feels like they have like just healthy relationships. Like, I know Chris Saban's a producer, but he never like really puts himself that over. Like he gives himself up for the rub again and again and again, but like, it's for the betterment of the product. So he lost to Eric Young, and then full circle. That's why I could trust they didn't give the match to Eddie Edwards and Slamiversary, and I think that's okay, because from what we've seen now in the past 2 years, the Impact is they do long-term storytelling. They're gonna have a payoff with Eddie Edwards at some point. I know it. And so it's fine to have Eric Young now. He makes sense for they're celebrating the 20th anniversary. They want to get someone that carries that history with them respectfully. And I don't expect him to win, but it'll be a great match and a good, hopefully good for pay-per-view buys.
Full
circle.
But absolutely.
Let's hit the Iceman Intel. I watched it this week.
Iceman Intel was actually something to foreshadow the show. It was basically Chris Saban is heartbroken that he came up short in Gauntlet for Gold, but he is going to challenge somebody tonight from his past, and that could be a former tag partner, could be a current tag partner, it could be somebody from the roster, or it could be a former rival. Impact kind of spoiled this a week last week when
Did they post something.
They announced that being taped at the Florida tapings last weekend was the match that got announced for next week.
Well, I was excited. I was surprised.
I mean, hey, I'm excited as well because the more of this person, the better.
Yeah, and we'll go into it when it comes up.
Absolutely. Our BTI match was Zicky Dice versus Crazy Steve.
Yeah, our BTI main event. What are you gonna say?
Yeah. I
like it.
Yeah. When I saw how much time was going to be given to this, I was like, are we sure this is the match we're doing? Like, are we sure Zicky Dice is actually wrestling? Because Zicky Dice doesn't hit moves.
Yeah,
he doesn't know how to wrestle. That is the story.
But he's learning, and it's apparently at this they're fully into the story of this is a sex dungeon.
Yes.
So, but he's learning something at this dungeon.
Yep.
They start off Zicky Dice and Crazy Steve. He starts off. He wants to do some Greco-Roman amateur wrestling, probably back to my high school wrestling days. One on top, one on bottom, and they were rolling around in the ring. They were showing some amateur wrestling skills there. And then
did it make you want to get back in the squared circle?
Well, I've never stepped foot in the squared circle. So
what you telling me that high school wrestling isn't professional wrestling?
I wouldn't. Yeah, there's a lot of differences. There's a lot of pros and cons to both of them. So I will not pretend I'm a professional wrestler.
It's a damn shame that high schools around the country don't have their own professional wrestling companies.
Yeah, I wish I coached Brian Myers.
And you have to face each other. It's an invasion every week.
Yeah,
whenever you have
meeting other high schools.
Yeah,
and the luchas.
It's perfect. Yeah, it's like Notre Dame High School.
Yeah, Catholic high school luchadors.
Versus AEW.
Oh boy,
some freshman is going out having a 30-minute classic match with Kenny Omega.
Yeah, no, they capped their matches at 6 minutes without overtime. So
that's a travesty.
None of that nonsense.
No finger pokes of doom allowed.
No, the ref would probably stop that.
No, that's
you were allowed like 1 minute, or I think it was up to 5 minute injury time. So
okay.
No, you could be strategic with that. But anywho, after the amateur wrestling between them two, then Swinger's advice was, give him a test of strength.
Yeah.
So he goes in there. Crazy Steve licks his hands, which whatever. Yep. And they battle out for strength. But it was kind of interesting because you're seeing like this development of Zicky like learning how to wrestle, even though he had a wrestling history, just forgot it coming into Impact.
Yeah, he has won titles,
right?
Elsewhere.
Yeah, right, in NWA. So it's like not just like elsewhere. It's like it was NWA is one of the better promotions available. So
yes.
But yeah, so I mean, this was like the story of the match was like Crazy Steve is the veteran here, and Zicky's just kind of learning his ways, and that's how it felt. And Zicky doesn't get the win here. Crazy Steve knocks it off, but phenomenal performance by Johnny Swinger and Zicky Dice. I will love to see them on my television or on YouTube TV every week, any day I can.
Yeah, absolutely.
That whatever. Recreation of the Andre the Giant coming down the ring. So yeah, that's what I saw with the gauntlet match. Like they debuted this contraption for Johnny Swinger to come out to the ring with.
It was the Rumble cart, basically.
Right, it's the Rumble cart. That's the name of it. Yeah, it's the Andre the Giant Rumble cart.
Yeah,
that is hilarious.
Yes.
Like because that ramp is like 20 feet long.
Yeah,
at the Impact shows.
Yeah.
So
this is not one of the.
It's not WrestleMania 3 where it was like a quarter mile.
Yeah, or the Royal Rumble a few years ago at the Alamo Dome where like they had for Braun Strowman they had to drive him out there because he couldn't run down the ramp.
Right.
Like all the bigger guys had this cart drive them there.
Yeah, it's been used before, so it's kind of hilarious.
I'm glad that they gave us a little history on this version of the cart, where it was made from items that have been used in the dungeon,
sanitized as well.
Yes, they have been sanitized, but they are used products.
Yeah.
To which commentary said they didn't want to ask what those products were. But yeah, good stuff all around. The main show starts with Speedball Mike Bailey versus Laredo Kid in our second qualifying match for the Ultimate X at Slamiversary. This was fantastic. Again, you give the X Division the opening spot of this show, they always steal it.
Oh, yeah.
And, I mean, Speedball, fantastic. Laredo Kid, always fantastic. His commentary continuously said throughout the program or throughout this match. This was just nonstop action. There was no time to really catch your breath. It was just, we're going to throw everything out the window here and see just how long we can go at this before we hit the ending, it felt like.
Yeah.
It was just, everything was being hit. You got suicide dives. You've got cannonball sentons out to the apron. You've got Laredo Kid almost launching himself into the crowd off of a dive that Mike Bailey tried to like move him closer so he didn't go into the crowd. You've got Mike Bailey doing like a run up the turnbuckle and then diving down for a kick. You had them teasing Spanish flies. You had them teasing reverse Spanish flies. Everything was being teased here. Finishes were being teased throughout. Ultimate Weapon, like Mike Bailey set up for Ultimate Weapon at least twice in this match, and couldn't get it done. Laredo Kid, as we said, tried to go for the Spanish fly multiple times, couldn't get it done. And this ends kind of surprisingly with a roll-up kind of combination where they just kept on both trying to roll each other up. And finally, Mike Bailey gets it, but his legs were underneath the ropes.
Oh, yeah. There was a little controversy there.
Yeah, the ref couldn't see it because of the placement of it. But yeah, Mike Bailey wins. Commentary points out that, the Laredo Kid will probably bring this could have a gripe about this when he goes back and checks the monitor, but that this result is final. So this is where I thought that maybe you could have Laredo Kid, Chris Bay, since both of those matches ended controversially. You could have that's what's bringing into my head that you could be like, hey, let's have a like last chance match where all the losers of the matches get a chance to compete for the final spot.
There's supposed to be 5 qualifier matches.
I think they said there's either 5 qualifying matches or 5 total match people go in the Ultimate X.
Okay, so maybe 4 qualifying matches. Okay, yeah, because like if it's 5, there's kind of a lot of wiggle room for who it could be.
Yeah,
in the next matches, unless they reuse people. Yeah.
We do know who our next that next week we do have another qualifying match, which we'll go to at the end. After this, we got Ace Austin promo from Japan.
Yeah, apparently he was ready with the promo right after Mike.
Yeah, apparently he watched this match
live and instantly had his response ready.
Yeah. About how he congratulates Mike Bailey and Kenny King on making it to the next to the Ultimate X match, but that Mike Bailey is going to lose yet again. He's just not ready for the big time, unlike Ace, who is a 3-time X Division champion.
Well, if it goes into that, Mike Bailey made a mistake.
Yes,
by not siding with him.
Yes. He's saying that if you side with Ace, you side on the side of history because he's the first ever X Division champ to be invited to the Best of the Super Juniors, which he has won his first match in, and he plans on winning the whole thing and bringing that back to Impact. And yeah, I mean, Ace is just really good on the mic. So far, from what Pat has talked about Ace's matches in New Japan so far, they've been very good. I saw that he was tagging with Tiger Mask the one night. Because on the nights that they aren't having a match, they just have tag matches between like the people who will be facing each other the next night. So it was him and Tiger Mask versus Taka Michinoku and Kanemaru.
That's just a very New Japan thing, right?
Yes. Yeah. So it's weird to see a babyface Tiger Mask tag teaming with heel Ace Austin. But that's what happens when you don't have.
What iteration of Tiger Mask are we on?
I think we're on 5 still. Yeah. 5 or 6.
I was like, no way, 4 is still wrestling.
I don't think so. Tiger Mask 4 there you go. We are on Tiger Mask. We are still on Tiger Mask 4 apparently.
Wow.
Yeah. So there is Tiger Mask 5, but it seems like Tiger Mask 5 retired and they just brought it back to Tiger Mask 4. I'm confused.
Wow, Tiger Mask 4 is 51 years old.
Yes. And I believe he did have a bout of diverticulitis, I believe, which took him out of action for a bit.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Yep. Still Tiger Mask 4. There's been 8 Tiger Masks apparently, but we're still Tiger Mask 4 is still kicking butt in New Japan.
That's all that matters.
Yeah. So yeah, good stuff over there. After this, we get our new ad for Slamiversary with Josh Alexander in an arena, and he hears TNA chants in the background, and he walks around the arena, and the chants are getting louder, and he finds this something that's covered up with a cloth, and he takes the cloth off, and it's a lock box with the old TNA logo.
What's in the box?
Yeah, and we'd find out later because we'd get a second ad. He opens the box and it's just a bunch of highlights of old TNA stuff from
Don West screaming.
Yeah, you've got Don West screaming. You've got some notable title changes. Some Ultimate X matches is happening.
Kind of like made an appearance.
Yeah, you've got old random CM Punk in there. You've got Samoa Joe walking down the ramp. Bunch of basically just a bunch of legends, all that jazz. And then Josh closes it and smiles. So yeah, this comes there's been rumors throughout that there's gonna be a lot of old TNA folks trying to get on that might show up on this. So maybe you get a few. I don't think you get that many. But
in a Monsters Ball match with Abyss?
I don't think so, man. He's still employed by WWE, buddy.
Joseph Parks is.
Yeah, you're right. It could just be some random person dressed up as Abyss.
Abyss 4.
Yeah, oh god. Abyss 4 versus Tiger Mask 4?
Yeah.
In a Monsters Ball.
Book it.
I like it. After this, we get a Matt Cardona and Chelsea Green promo from the Maldives.
A selfie promo.
Yep. They're just
Cardona loves the selfie promos.
Oh yeah, absolutely, because he's the innovator of the internet.
Yeah.
They are on their second honeymoon already. They're enjoying life. I'm confused by this because Matt Cardona apparently is still watching Impact, but Chelsea Green
couldn't care less.
Yeah, she's like, I'm on my honeymoon. I'm not gonna watch what happens with the girls later tonight.
Yeah, Cardona's a true fan of the game. He's keeping up with the products. He's paying that extra premium data to get roaming fees in the Maldives so he can watch Impact Wrestling on YouTube.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, apparently they have their own private island there. The only ones there. Everything's catered to them.
Yeah,
sounds lovely. That Impact money must be paying them very well.
So the gripe is, and Rich Swann said it last week,
yes,
he would like this digital media championship, but he doesn't agree it's a world championship.
Correct.
Cardonis thinks it is.
Yes. So. Yes. And so Matt Cardona says that, Rich needs to earn his chance at this title, just like anybody earns a chance for a world championship match. And that Rich has never done anything to deserve a world championship match.
Apparently, he doesn't even have social media.
Yeah. According to Chelsea Green, Rich Swann does not own any social or have any social media. So yeah, he says that, Rich can't be the digital media champion if he doesn't have any digital media. That doesn't make sense. You can't represent that. That'd be like, I don't know. But yeah, good stuff. After this leads us to Deonna Purrazzo, Savannah Evans, and Tasha Steelz versus Taya Valkyrie, Jordynne Grace, and Mia Yim. It is Mia Yim's first match in the Impact Zone in over 5 years.
Yeah, very exciting.
Yeah.
I'm not familiar with her work.
Yeah.
Be honest.
Okay. So I guess she was after you stopped watching.
Yeah,
Impact
she was.
TNA. Okay. She was part of, I think, the Dollhouse.
Okay, so I've seen like the bits and pieces of the Dollhouse. Yeah.
And then she went to WWE.
Yes.
She was in the first Mae Young Classic, and got really over. And so they signed her, and she was good. It was just like she didn't have the best character. And, I feel like WWE, you need to have a character to get noticed.
Yeah, go far in WWE.
Yeah.
And she never did main roster. She was just NXT.
No, so she was part of Retribution.
Okay.
She was Reckoning. That was her name. She had a mask. And
right.
Yeah, that was the extent of her run. And then she was like off TV for like forever. And then they released her.
Okay, so she did get some main roster run.
Yes. I don't know if she ever had. Yeah, I think she had like 1 or 2 matches on the main roster.
It wasn't strong character development with
Correct.
That.
I mean, that's what happens when you're part of Retribution and you just wear a mask on your face.
Right.
So yeah, this was your typical 6-woman tag match.
I mean, it was star-studded.
Yeah, it was.
Really?
As commentary said, this might be the most decorated 6-person tag match in the history of Impact Wrestling. As everybody other than Savannah Evans is a former champion, with a few of them being multi-time champions in Taya and Deonna and Jordynne, and technically Tasha, because she's been a tag champ and the world champ now. So, I thought this was a good match, not great. I think everybody kind of had a role to play in this match.
Yeah, it was a showcase type of match. I'd say.
Commentary really hyped up Savannah as like somebody who people keep talking about as a future world champ, and then Savannah ended up eating the pin, and didn't really do anything special in this match. She just felt like she was
kind of a weird hill to die on for them.
Yeah, they mentioned this multiple times.
She's still new. So.
Yeah, and like she's just the backup for Tasha.
Yeah, until she starts doing her Karanas like Wardlow does.
Yeah.
Then I won't think much of her. But
until she starts winning matches.
Yeah, it's true.
This would lead to so Mia Yim would hit Eat Defeat on Savannah Evans. Yeah. And that would set us to our backstage segment, Locker Room Talk with the Influence, because Johnny Swinger is no longer the co-host with Madison Rayne, although he does show up because he didn't want to pay for parking for his mobile, so he has Zicky wheel him into the room.
Unbelievable stuff.
And he announces to everybody that this is his new protege, the Dice Daddy, a.k.a. Double D's. To which Zicky Dice offers his hand and nobody shakes it, so he just says, outlandish.
Yep.
They talk about the dungeon a bit before the camera goes weird and Decay show up, and they look like they're going to challenge for they are going to ask for a title shot because the Influence have never beaten Decay, and somebody says something about you can't have a freak show without the freaks or something, and it just pans to Zicky and Johnny Swinger, who just look straight at the camera, open their mouths and lower their glasses to wink. And then right before this ends, Zicky Nice gets up and he says, wait, I remember you. He stands up to Havoc. He says, hey, you're always coming to the dungeon. I recognize that smell anywhere. And she just throws him down, and he lands on Swinger. To which Swinger yells, I think you've broken my coccyx. Brilliant stuff. And always. So they instead of going to get the doctor to check that out, he says, let's go to the dungeon and work this out.
And he's grabbing his groin.
Yeah. Brilliant stuff. Oh,
whatever Johnny Swinger is getting paid deserves more.
Absolutely. After this, speaking of Johnny Swinger, we get one of Swinger's Palace's favorite men, Chris Saban, cutting a promo. And he cuts his promo and he announces his challenge for next week. He's challenging somebody that almost 20 years ago he had a futures match with, talking about who would be the future of the company and the wrestling world. And he wants to have this match to kind of throw it back and show where they've gone since. And he challenges Frankie Kazarian to a match next week.
That really speaks to me as an Impact, original fan.
Yeah.
Frankie Kazarian was one of my favorites. I mean, like one of my favorites as a kid.
Yeah.
Was seeing him versus Christian Cage.
Yeah.
In a ladder match on, TNA, like on their Thursday night show. I mean, he never broke the ceiling, but he was like one of those guys. He's like kind of like what Jungle Boy is right now. AEW. It's like he was like that, homegrown talent that you get really excited about, and he was always there. He was always involved in main storylines and stuff, but he never broke the glass ceiling. But now he's a veteran, so it's like it's just crazy to say. Like I would say Saban has had the better career than him. They both had success in so many ways.
Yeah,
but I would say Saban. He actually did get his world title championship. With Impact. Kaz never really hit that moment. So yeah, it'll be really cool to see them battle it out in 2022 on Impact Arena. So I'm very excited for that.
Yeah. And following this up, we got our flashback moment of the week, which we haven't gotten in a while.
Yeah. They showed like a good amount of this match.
Yeah, and it's the futures match that Chris Saban was talking about versus
one.
Yeah, and I thought it was very odd to see just how much hair these two had back then. Kazarian sporting a ponytail.
Yeah, he had a lot of hair back then.
Compared to now where he's got a very, very, very short haircut. But Saban also has a lot of hair in this, and now he also has less hair. But yeah, this was a really good match from what we saw of the flashback moment. I'm sure people who have seen the match in its full would say that it was great because it seemed great.
Yeah, I think the story with Kazarian is when he was a child, not a child, but I think he was in his teens. He went to a WCW show, and like during a commercial break, he was like behind the announce table, and he said he got Jim Ross's attention. He goes, "Hey, I'm going to be a pro wrestler one day, and like you're going to call my matches." So
nice.
years later in AEW that became true.
Yeah.
But, yeah, he's been a fan his whole life. So it's always cool to hear those stories.
Yeah, for real. Speaking of somebody being a fan their whole life, this transitions to an Eric Young promo where he starts off talking about when he was a very young child, his dad, and he was living in Canada. He was very poor, but his dad spent money to go and get them tickets to go to WrestleMania 3. And they weren't good tickets. They were all the way up in the nosebleeds. So you could barely see all the action going on and who was coming out and all that stuff. But the one match that stuck with them was Ricky the Dragon Steamboat versus Randy Savage.
He wasn't going to say that Hulk versus Andre made him want to become a wrestler?
No, apparently not. So he talks about how after throughout that match, he watched it and he was like, maybe this could be something I want to do. But he didn't think he had it in him because of his background and how poor they were, that he never would make it. And then after high school, once he graduated, he went straight to becoming a wrestler. And he worked the indies from 97 to 2004 before him and his best friend, Robert Roode, signed a contract for 4 dates. They didn't read the contract. They just knew that this company wanted them to be working for them. They just signed it because they knew they'd get on TV, and they didn't care what they'd do because they were willing to do anything to get on TV. And that's what he did from 2004 till where he is to basically right when he left TNA. Originally, it was just him doing whatever the company wanted him to do. He was, part of Team Canada, getting yelled at and slapped and berated by the coach. Yeah. Then he was trying to, fight for his career weekly. He was doing comedy stuff. Then he finally was able to be just plain Eric Young.
Oh yeah, before that, I guess with the comedy stuff, he was a knockout tag team champion.
Yeah, they showed him in his pink bathrobe. They showed him in a turkey outfit. They show him being just a fan in the crowd at shows. And then they show him win the big one. And then he says they left. And he worked for this old man who was out of touch and he could barely see over his own nose before he came back here and was finally allowed and given the chance to be his true self, his purest self. And that is what Violent by Design is. And that he is going to win the big one again. He's going to win the world title again and prove to everyone that this world doesn't belong to them. It belongs to me. I thought this was a fantastic promo, video package, vignette, whatever you want to call it. It was fantastic.
Yeah, I think it does a really good job for the fan that wasn't as familiar with his work, especially because it's like you're seeing him on TV as this heartless, Violent by Design guy, but really there's so much history with TNA/Impact and Eric Young. He's been there and been on every part of the card, from basically being the curtain jerker to being the main event. So yeah, that's why I'm very for this with the Slamiversary. He makes sense. Out of him and Saban would both made sense, but out of all the guys on the roster, he really makes sense here.
Yeah, absolutely, it does. And I thought this was a great way to just come full circle and explain this choice. After this, we get a Josh Alexander promo talking about, he doesn't agree with a lot of what Eric Young says weekly with Violent by Design, but he can't take away that he deserves this chance, that he's put TNA and Impact on his back for so long, and that if you had to list somebody who would be considered the MVP of Impact and TNA throughout its history, you have to put Eric Young in the conversation for that. But that he is going to still walk away from Slamiversary as the champ. And yeah, I would have to agree that Eric Young would definitely be in the conversation as somebody who considered the MVP of Impact for its 20-year history.
Right, because he hasn't done the same accomplishments as a Kurt Angle in TNA, but he's been there for so long, for so many different parts. And like I said, from like opening the show to ending the show, he's just been such an integral part.
Absolutely. This will take us to our next match. It is the OG Kingdom, Matt Taven and Mike Bennett versus the Good Brothers, Carl Anderson and Doc Gallows. We've got Maria on commentary, and she is allowed. Again, commentary says that no other Honor No More wrestlers are allowed at ringside. No Bullet Club wrestlers are allowed at ringside, but Maria is allowed there because she is an executive and not a wrestler. So she joins commentary. This was a good match. I mean, I'd assume it would be because they have history together. They've had great matches together in the past. They know each other really well. They were given a lot of time for this match.
Yeah, they were.
And honestly, this felt like a match that it could go either way here. You could give it to the Good Brothers. You could give it to OG Kingdom. But it also felt like this could be whoever wins this match is next in line for the tag titles match. Just because both have been positioned pretty high up on the card at this point. And, if you're building up to Slamiversary, you want the tag title match to be as big as possible. And if you're going to keep the titles on the Briscoes going into Slamiversary, you could have either the Good Brothers or OGK, and either of them would fit that bill of a big tag team match for that title for Slamiversary. Commentary throughout is a wild card of a commentary. You've got Tom asking Maria if there's ever been anything between her and Carl Anderson. And is that why Mike Bennett keeps on focusing on Carl Anderson, is because he needs to try to dissuade those rumors or try to punish him for what's happened in the past, which I just couldn't help but think back to Mike Bennett's amazing gimmick back in WWE where he was a cuck.
Yeah, literally.
So Maria not having any of that, she was like, oh, there's nothing between us. Mike is my husband. I wouldn't do anything to make him look bad or anything like that. Carl has his own things to deal with. And then they talk about their times in Japan. Finally, it looks like the Good Brothers are going to pick up the win, and Maria just throws the headset away so she can get on the apron and yell to distract them. And then she gets in the ring.
Well, it's really just Carl in the ring.
Yeah.
Just him.
Yeah, and it's Carl and Maria. They're looking at each other. They're talking to each other. Mike Bennett comes in. He grabs Carl Anderson from behind. He pushes Carl Anderson so that he can go and run against the ropes to go for a spear. And Carl gets out of the way, and Mike Bennett spears Maria. Really good spear. But Maria is down. Mike Bennett had been cut open early on in the match, so now his face is just red with blood, and also he's like screaming about this, to which Carl Anderson just shrugs and hits a gun stun for the win. And then the camera goes into him again. He shrugs again. He checks on Maria, and then he leaves. I thought this was a good time. But yeah, this positions the Good Brothers strongly. Maybe them versus the Briscoes. They can go for the tag titles at Slamiversary.
Yeah, if they can't get Bobby Roode to reform Beer Money, I think that's their best case for a tag team title match at Slamiversary.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think the only way that could happen, Angelo, is if Bobby Roode was fired about 2 months ago.
Yeah.
So that 90-day no compete clause could happen, or maybe we haven't heard about it, but maybe his contract ends like tomorrow or something, and he can just leave WWE on his own.
Which would probably not be great for his finances, but it would be very lovely for the Slamiversary.
Yeah. Yeah.
James Storm's waiting. I'm sure he is.
Yeah. Hey man, you could get James Storm and who's Chris Harris.
I don't know about that.
What, you don't think Chris Harris got back in shape after last year when he just showed up and was totally out of shape?
No, I don't think he's improving.
Oh, that's a shame. After this, we get a Sami Callahan promo, and there's a lot of static throughout this thing of just really home video quality promo here. Him by a dumpster talking about, Moose breaking his leg. He doesn't hate Moose for that because he would have done it to Moose if Moose hadn't done it to him. But the bigger issue wasn't that his leg was broken, but that he had to sit at home by himself for the better part of a year. And that does something to a man. And now he wants to do that to Moose. And he vows to do that soon. Yeah. After this, we get Masha Slamovich versus.
I will say though, this is a good feud for Moose here.
Yeah, it does get him, something to do. It doesn't send him down the card too much because
that was our fear was he could have immediately floundered.
Yeah.
But this is Sami Callahan's a main event player. He's coming back from an injury, so this is putting Moose right back in the action, and it might not end at Slamiversary. So
yeah, absolutely, this could be a few month feud. Absolutely. So yeah, this takes us to Masha Slamovich versus Shauna Reed, and we get another squash match for Masha.
And I was thinking watching this this is one too many squash matches.
Yeah. Yeah. And then after this happens, Havoc shows up, and her and Masha have some words, headbutt each other a few times, it looks like. And then we go back to the back, and we've got Shira and Raj. And Shira and Raj are, again, complaining that Bhupinder is sticking his nose in their business, and that he should leave before facing their wrath. And then Bhupinder just shows up and is like, hey, I'm not sticking my nose in your business, but, if you guys have a problem with me, we can solve this. And Shira and Raj are like, oh, hey, man, there's two of us, only one of you. That's not fair for you.
Right.
And then you hear, well, he's not alone. And W. Morrissey shows up. And Shira tries to level up with him. And W. Morrissey just makes Shira look like a normal-sized human being.
Yeah, he doesn't look that big.
No.
Morrissey.
No, that's what happens when you're 7 feet tall.
Can't teach that.
No. And so Bhupinder, Raj, and Shira say, we'll see you guys later. And Bhupinder's like, hey, you don't need to stand up for me. You don't need to help. I can face them on my own. And Morrissey says, you know what? You don't have to be afraid to look for help. Trust me, I know. I've been there. And so they shake hands, and it seems like a new team has formed.
This is a small alliance.
Yeah, a little alliance here. This shows that Morrissey's here for a little bit more, at least.
Yeah, I think it's better character development for Morrissey. It's because he came in I'm on my own, and kind of saying to the younger guy, hey,
he's mentoring.
Yeah, no, it's a good character development.
And he's got the crowd behind him. Hopefully he can bring the crowd to Bhupinder too.
Yeah. Yeah, he might, honestly. He might give him the rub.
I hope so.
That probably impacts Hope too.
Yeah. And this would lead us to our final match of the night. It is Violent by Design versus the Briscoes for the tag titles. Commentary points out as Violent by Design comes out that Joe Doring has not been pinned or submitted in Impact Wrestling since he has returned to Impact in 2020. Wild stat there. But it does make sense. He doesn't have too many singles matches. And normally when he's tagging with people, the only time they lose is if Diener's in his corner. In this match, he does have Diener in his corner. And so that can tell you who's going to win this match. Crowd is very behind the Briscoes. Eric Young, the storyline on why they chose Diener and Doring instead of Doring and Eric Young or Diener and Eric Young is that Eric Young is putting all his focus on Josh Alexander. Throughout this match, Eric Young was just at ringside waving the flag, basically, for Violent by Design, yelling at fans, and yelling at the Briscoes, occasionally trying to distract them, grabbing their legs, things like that. But yeah, I thought this was a good match. Joe Doring was made to look like a beast for most of the beginning of this match. He even got to
use more like that.
Yeah, he even got to do his signature look at the camera, grimace a little bit, and then throw the fist out and go, ugh.
Yeah.
My favorite part about Impact Wrestling. The end of this match comes with the Briscoes setting up for the Doomsday device, but Doring gets back up, and he goes, and he's tussling with Mark Briscoe on the top rope while he's on the apron because he's so big. And while that's happening, Jay rolls up Diener and gets the 1, 2, 3. The Briscoes retain. And Violent by Design, not happy with this. So Eric Young comes in with Doring. They beat up on the Briscoes. But who's going to make the save? It's Josh Alexander. Josh Alexander comes down. He throws Diener around a bit, throws him out of the ring. He then gets Doring and ducks or pulls the rope down, and Doring goes out of the ring. And then the Briscoes hit Eric Young. And yeah, that's that. The Briscoes and Josh Alexander hold the ring, and Violent by Design stand up on the top of the entrance ramp. And that's how the show ends.
Yeah, I mean, this will lead to a trios match down the road.
Yep, that's what I was going to say. Yeah, this definitely feels like this is setting up a 6-man match.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. They got, a few weeks to get through till they get to Slamiversary, so.
Yeah. Yeah. We've got, let's see, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 shows in between now and then. So, yeah. Also, interesting note, this is the first time in a while that I can say Impact Wrestling has a Sunday night pay-per-view.
Yeah, that is kind of exciting. Even I could probably watch it on a Sunday night now.
Yeah, look at that.
Yeah. No, but that is a good point. There must be nothing else.
Well, I know the main reason is because it's 20 years to the day of their first show.
Oh, they're really trying to line it up. Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So like if you could have it on that weekend and have it exactly on that day since it falls on a weekend.
Yeah, you might as well do it on the Sunday.
Yeah.
That's great then.
Yeah, absolutely. And then that does carry on with the wild week of it's basically 3 straight weeks of big pay-per-views because you've got the 19th is Slamiversary. Then either the 25th or 26th, I forget which day it is Forbidden Door. And then either the 2nd or the 3rd of July is Money in the Bank. So yeah. three straight weeks of major pay-per-views. And if you include Dominion for New Japan, which I believe is the 12th of June, that's the week before Slamiversary. So you could really have 4 straight weeks of big pay-per-views.
Of major wrestling. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, Angelo, what would you think of your return show back to Impact after a week off?
Thumbs up. 2. I think it was better than last week's.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely a thumbs up. Impact is flying right now on the road to Slamiversary.
Yeah, believe the words of Will Ospreay. Believe the words of us. Impact is a great place to park your tushies on Thursday nights.
Absolutely. And if that can't sway you, maybe the card for next week can, because we have 4 matches confirmed for next week. We've got Masha Slamovich versus Havoc. We've got Chelsea Green versus Jordan Grace. We've got Frankie Kazarian versus Chris Saban. Frankie Kazarian back in an Impact ring for the first time in years. And we have the next Ultimate X qualifying match, which is Trey Miguel versus Alex Shelley. And that honestly is a toss-up match.
That's a real toss-up. That's a really interesting matchup.
Like, you could have Trey win because, you know, he's the younger guy. He's the former champ. But also, you could throw Alex Shelley in because he's, again, almost a TNA original.
Right, so it plays on that Slamiversary vibe. So.
Yeah. Plus, we've seen Shelley kind of being a little heelish of late. He's picked up some big wins. He did beat Macklin a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
But then they lost to him. Saban and Mike Bailey lost to the Bullet Club, I believe. Or no, Honor No More.
Yeah.
And he got real upset with Mike Bailey, which set up him versus Mike Bailey at Under Siege, which didn't end up happening because he was double booked. And
I didn't know that. That's funny.
Yeah, he was apparently booked for a show in Detroit. It was like a 3 promotion show. So they just moved Mike Bailey to the pre-show as part of the Rich Swann versus Laredo Kid match. It was then made a triple threat between them.
Oh, okay.
So it's a good match.
Yeah, no complaints then.
Yeah. Yeah. So Alex Shelley back, and we'll see what happens. I think Alex Shelley is going to win.
Yeah, maybe
that's my throw in.
Leave and does something little dastardly to win.
And that can again set up that last chance match that we've been teasing.
Yeah,
that I think could happen. As I said, there's more surprises on the road to Slamiversary. I can feel it. So we'll see what else can happen. If there's any new people or old faces that show up on the road. Any new faces.
Hopefully someone that rhymes with Samoa foe.
That would be fantastic, but I think that they wouldn't bring that on a random taping. I feel like that would have been all over the place if that was out. Absolutely. I feel like that might be a day of if that happened.
Yeah. No, I know.
I need him in Ultimate X.
Oh, please.
The man who got a concussion filming a commercial for WWE. I don't think he wants to risk that in Ultimate X.
Yeah, he probably won't ever do an Ultimate X again.
Yeah. No, we'll get another AEW guy. We'll get a Satnam Singh, Pat's favorite big man from India.
Might just be able to, lift his arms in the air and grab the belt off the.
Big facts.
Yeah.
So yeah, we will talk to you next weekend, or not next weekend, next week. For another episode of the Impact Power Hour. And until then, thank you for listening. Stay safe, and we'll talk to you next time.
Thanks for listening.
Bye.